episode of the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show, the show where we talk about all the crazy stupid stuff that people do in marketing and how to not do crazy stupid stuff. That's pretty much it. And today we're going to talk about how to not do crazy stupid live streaming. And I was like really excited about this episode because this is a live stream and we're doing an episode on live streaming, which we haven't actually done before. So I'm really excited about that. And not only that, but we have like the phenomenal, that's a new one, phenomenal, maybe it's phenomenal, Americo joining us for this conversation today. So we're two very passionate live streamers. We're going to be talking about live streaming. But this isn't a show about like us standing here and convincing you all that you should live stream. This is like the facts about live streaming. So come and ask your questions. The point for us today is to give you some stuff that you can try on. So if you've considered live streaming or if you're using other types of marketing tactics that might not be working for you and you're looking for something else that you might try, then we're going to talk about live streaming, and whether or not you want to give it a try is up to you. This is your pressure test to figure out, yeah, that sounds cool, or nope, not for me. That's your practice and authenticity for today, my friends. So I will leave you with that responsibility. As I mentioned, we have this lovely comment section. So whether you are coming to us live via YouTube, via Facebook, or via LinkedIn, please get into the conversation. This is what the comment box is for. So if you have questions, but if you've had challenges or you have a perception or you have an insight about live streaming, we want to hear it all. So please feel free to pop whatever pops into your brain, as long as it's nice and kind and helpful in the chat. We'd be super happy to bring it over into the show today. That's it. Let's get right into this conversation. So before we get into live streaming, Americo, for those people who don't know you in the world of live streaming, or for people who are not coming to us from the world of live streaming, can you give us a little bit of a background on you and what led into this arena?
Well, what led me into this arena? First and foremost, thank you so much for having me on as a guest. And it's this exact thing that we're doing. We're engaging in real time. That's what got me stoked, got me excited about live streaming. I spent a bulk of my journey in the corporate space, banking, insurance, credit, and I found myself as a job seeker, in that job seeker persona, trying to step outside of the confines of written content to stand out and attract recruiters. And the decision was try live streaming. You're reaching out, you're demonstrating what it's like to be vulnerable in an ecosystem where you have an abundance of uncertainty of what's going to happen. You're live. There's no rehearsing. You're shooting from the hip. You got to come up with solutions when things go astray. And by accident, people started to reach out and say, hey, like the vibe, like the energy, can you help me? Is this something that you can help me with? It's like, wow, this is something that I can help you with. I'm super excited to step away and as a job seeker and turn this into a viable business. So here I am trying to help
and
people.
It's clearly worked for you.
It's working, right? I had this mantra that went on for weeks. Part of my email nurturing campaign, I was be seen, be heard, and be remembered, and try to get that ingrained in my community. And that's what I want to do. I want to be able to help those who are either do-it-yourselfers. You know what? I don't need a full production crew. I just need someone to bounce something off of. And I'm glad this is so, it's timed impeccably, because there's a place and an opportunity for individuals who are considering this whole live streaming as a strategy. Listen, I'm not suggesting stop doing everything else, but there is so much to be said, and I advocate for it, and I know you advocate for it, but supplementing your marketing strategy, whatever it is that you're doing today, supplementing it with a live stream is incredible. You'd be surprised, and we'll probably dive into all the pros and some of the cons, and how we might define the cons, because I see a silver lining in any of the cons that people kind of throw my way.
Yeah. I mean, I am like that too. I think there's always a reframe that's available. And at the same time, I don't believe that one thing is right for all people. And so, like, if we single human on the planet Earth was live streaming, then we probably have a problem, and it likely wouldn't help you stand out that much in the market either. But before we talk too much about the pros and cons and maybe some of the like more technical things, Americo, I'd like to touch on a word that you brought up in your intro, which was vulnerability. And I feel like this is a place where a lot of people maybe make that yay or nay decision about live streaming, because if we're not ready to be vulnerable and be at the whims of the tech gods and try and deal with shows where our guests don't show up and like all of these things that are common happenstances on a live stream, that we probably would just say like that's too scary, right? Like I'm not ready for that. So in your journey, is there like a place in terms of someone's level of comfortability with vulnerability where live streaming makes sense? Is it something that can allow us to build that skill set? Like, how can it play a role?
All right, through the art of storytelling, we hear all these content creators talking about storytelling, and we hear other content creators talking about, be your authentic self. What better place to show up as your authentic self than in a live stream, right?
I agree with that.
You can't be a content creator, a guru, or a thought leader of any kind and talk about the importance of being authentic and then stand behind a polished, fully edited piece of video. Stand in front of that camera, step up to the mic, and if you are being recognized or have the confidence in the subject matter expertise that you want to talk about, sure, you might stumble at first as you get comfortable. That's natural. That's part of authenticity. So to answer your question in terms of comfort, be comfortable with the uncomfortable, and it'll grow on you.
Oh, hey, we were talking about like the AI clip things that happened in the back of live stream game on live, and I was like, hopefully the AI picks up on that one, because that's just a very smart statement. Hopefully the people pick up on that as well. I think I found it really interesting because I've actually had a lot of people on this show who have never been on a live stream before, and they're like a little intimidated because it's their first live stream, and I'm like, it's just a conversation between the two of us, right? Like, forget that theoretically a million people could watch this. A million people are never going to watch this, not at one time anyway, right? So like, let's take off the pressure of that and just like have the conversation. And I have a rule for this show where like I meet you, and if we can have a good conversation, then you can be invited to the show. But there's people where you feel like you have to like pull the conversation out of them, and then you're like, this is a conversational show. You've got to be conversational. But there's that like layer of like, people are going to see me. And I feel like this is another thing when we like layer on that this is streaming live on social media. There's like, I found anyway, that there's a thing that happens where like, if I go to an in-person networking event, I kind of just like, I bring my authentic self with me, and it's more likely that it'll come out even if I'm intimidated. But when people think about social media, they tend to just see these like polished versions of stuff, and so then they're holding themselves to that level, which I mean, I don't consider that authenticity, but I see that this being like a roadblock to people trying it.
Well, can it be a roadblock? Absolutely. Just with like anything, you take written content, whether it's long form, short form, or however else it's being distributed, we get hung up on poor reach. We get hung up on low impressions. But with live, if I get 100 views in a 24-hour period, just as an example, on an episode across whatever channels or however many channels I might be multi-streaming, envision those 100 people standing in a room, and it becomes surreal. Well, That's 100 people. So stop chasing the vanity. Oh, yeah, you didn't get 1,000 impressions. Well, impressions, when you compare dwell time or that doom scrolling that marketers talk about, 1.7 seconds, 1 second gets you an impression.
Right.
But with a live stream, if people stick around even for 5 minutes, I think the average on LinkedIn or it might be YouTube is 5 minutes. You're still getting, when you play the percentages, you're getting a lot more attention with a live stream because you're making that connection with your audience, with your community, and in some cases with potential customers. And nothing beats that real-time engagement. You're connecting, and it's instant gratification for those who are listening. The one thing I also love to bring and raise awareness around live streams is from an analytical perspective. I'm a nerd when it comes to the numbers. I love seeing where I can't see it with my written content. I love seeing views, total views versus unique views. Right? When your total views outpace your unique views, you know that people are coming back either to continue where they left off or to, you know what? Let me make sure I heard that correctly. Let me go back and listen to it. So you've piqued someone's curiosity and you know that it's resonating.
This is a really great point because I think a lot of times people from a metrics point of view are heavily focused on the unique views because that tells me how many people I have in my reach or how many potential clients that I have in that arena. But when we look at some of these things, you're like, that's actually good. It's actually good that people are coming back and being like, wait, or I remember hearing that on that show. I'm going to go back and like re-listen to that so that I can like make it more real for myself. This is when you have content that is resonating.
That's right.
Instead of like 100 people coming on and then bouncing off within a minute, right? That you're actually, oh, these people, they care enough to come back. And I mean, caring, I think, is a critical component into that trust building exercise.
Absolutely. And when people start coming back, you instantly know that you've struck their attention. You're demonstrating some level of authenticity because you didn't give them slop to warrant never to come back. And that's you slowly building trust, right? And whatever your intent is, if you go live to sell or if you go live to build community or just social selling and sharing your narrative of your profession or your business, you're building trust. When people are coming back, you know that something's resonating. So stick to it and pay close attention to that.
Yeah. Okay. I want to, just because Meryl's in the comments here with like a really great comment about like kind of the whole experience, right? So like we got the live stream and we're like on right now and we're live streaming, but there's invitations that go up before a live stream. There are follow-ups after a live stream. So this is what Meryl is commenting on, is that Americo has definitely made that connection with him throughout his active live streaming. Plus, it always takes the time to thank and acknowledge those of us who show up to support him. And I think these like follow-up protocols, that's like a sales outreach or a thank you outreach. I feel like these are also like a really critical component to like cementing the authenticity that someone feels in a live stream. Because again, I am with you in that I feel like live is the best way to be authentic, right? Like this is exactly what I look like right now. Maybe that looks different on different days, but it's like pretty consistent. But every human is evolving.
Yeah.
But like, how do these like invitation protocols or follow-up protocols actually match what's happening in the live stream? I think that's another important thing to consider.
It is a very important thing to consider because I talk to individuals who have either tried it and kind of just chalked it up. It doesn't work. It's like, well, why didn't it work? What kind of effort did you put into it? And I'm not trying to pitch you on me doing it for you. I just want to understand what effort you put into it. It's like, well, I scheduled an event and I went live and nobody showed up. Like, well, did you let anyone know that you were doing it? Well, yeah. It's like I told a couple of my friends and I sent them a DM. It's like, all right, well, you got to think of this from a marketer's lens. You got to think of this with a long tail. You can't, just do a pop-up and expect results. Now, if you do a sequentially doing pop-ups, people are going to kind of get that vibe. Hey, I'm going to follow, Americo because his pop-ups are fire. But there's a level of planning that's required. Mm-hmm. You're going to need to understand what's your intent. Why are you going live? What's the purpose? And who do you want to deliver that purpose to? Right. And once you understand that, you're going to have to reach out and in some cases, your email list, let them know. Give it a couple of weeks, maybe I think personally the sweet spot is a week, because too far out of sight, out of mind, you might get forgotten, you might fall in the priorities list, not become the biggest priority, and we can talk about this later, but I kind of really hang my head on demand content, the whole repurposing of live. But the planning, it is critical, it is crucial, and it is necessary if you want to see any kind of success. Just like with anything, you can't just show up and expect instant results. It doesn't exist. Stop reading and believing the content, and anyone who says you can 10 times whatever it is that you're trying to 10 times. You might be able to, but it doesn't happen with one episode.
Right. Well, and I think it's a practice, right? And any kind of brand experience is built in people's minds. So giving somebody one touch point to build a brand profile around is not very robust, right? Like if you even get any out of it, it's like very, very tiny seed, right? And then if you get like, oh, there's this article, or I saw this live stream, and then Tracy followed up with me and we had a one-on-one conversation, and now there's like this robust version of me in your brain. And if I don't, I mean, it's like, I always say, like, it's like throwing a party, right? Like, would you throw a party and then not invite anybody to the party and then be confused why no one came to your party?
Well, that's a great analogy. Throwing a party planners will tell you it takes time. You don't just say, all right,
I'm having a party tomorrow. Who's available? And you're like, right? I'm sorry, I'm not available tomorrow for your party. No, and then you're like, oh, nobody likes me. I'd be like, that's not a real assessment either.
Now, I'm sure in our academic years, we had no problem just partying on the fly. Now we need a little bit more planning.
Yeah, and the party needs to start by 7:00. Otherwise, I'm not coming. I was having this conversation with my husband the other day because he was saying, like, somebody was like, this party starts at like 10:00. And I was like, maybe a New Year's party. Maybe. No other party. I'm sorry. I've been asleep for like an hour by the time your party starts.
So in addition to the party analogy, the analogy and the image I try to paint for those that I work with is, think of your lives like breakfast television or your radio in your car. Don't get hung up on who's with you, how many people are there at the same time. It doesn't really matter. In fact, block those numbers, because you're gonna get all consumed on how many people are with you live. And like the breakfast television shows or the weather network, people show up when they're able to. They stick around for as long as they need to. And they'll come back if something resonated, right?
If you made it worth their while.
If you made it worth their while, they will come back. It could be coming back to listen to the replay, or it could be coming back to your next episode because they kind of liked the message. So you're starting to build trust. All right, so we have those two analogies. We're planning a party, and we're comparing ourselves to talk show radio hosts and weather people on the breakfast television show.
I feel like this is a good analogy though, because I think most people, at least our age and older, have some like morning radio show that they loved. Maybe they have one right now. Maybe it was from years ago, but I feel like we've all had that like morning radio show where you're like, yes, I just love the like energy of these people. And I don't know the people, right? And I don't know, I always found it weird when I meet like radio people and I'm like, you do not look like how I pictured you in my head, which is something you don't have a problem with on live stream because you get to see the faces.
That's right.
But like when we think about what are the things that we like about that radio show, right? Like it's a vibe, it's the conversation, it's the repartee between the two parties, right? And I've always found it really interesting how morning radio shows always have like 2 or 3 hosts, where like the afternoon shows just have one host, right? And they just play music and it's like not really a thing. But like people want to get you up and engaged and ready for the day. It's like a conversation between people. And so it's really cool to think about it like that. If I'm a radio show host for breakfast morning show, and I'm channeling my favorite radio show, and how do I invite people to that party?
And listen, if we're making or continuing to make that comparison to television and radio, what's one thing live events do? Feedback and interaction. It's immersive. You can't interact as easy with your radio show host unless you call in, you wait in the queue, and if you got something worth saying, then they're going to put you through and put you on the air.
Right.
Where with these virtual events, some people call them podcasts and some people call them live streams. I grew up with podcasts being pre-recorded audio events. Now podcasts are pretty much anything that people call podcasts.
Anything someone can listen to.
So, but the fact that they're immersive, they're happening in real time, and people can engage, that is one of the biggest pros that I would add to the list of pros.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point. People who are watching who are not yet in the comments. Because I mean, I can see the numbers, right? Like I can see how many people are here. I can see how many people are in the comments, right? It's not everybody. Not everyone gets in the comments. And I think there's for certain people too, there's like either well, I came here to listen from an expertise point of view and I don't have expertise, so I'm not going to share anything. I don't have any specific questions, so I'm not going to get into the conversation. But I think it is really interesting, again, when you compare it to radio, in that like, I've never called into the radio because every time I've tried to like call in for a radio contest or whatever, I get a busy signal. And so I'm like, what is the point? Right? I'm not going to sit here on my phone while you like patch me through. Right? But this is live, right? Like I see your comments, although I will say that sometimes there's tech issues where we don't see all the comments. I try to go back and check the comments because that has happened from time to time. But like when your comment comes through or your question comes through, like we can actually answer that live. Unless also you answer it or you ask it when there's like 30 seconds left. And then I say, I'm going to come back and answer it in the chat. But even then, right, like you get like much more real-time information and you get to be part of the conversation. I think that's fun.
I would agree. It's not only fun, but I try to get customers and companies to look at live streaming from a different perspective. Like there's so many ways that you can lean in and leverage live streams. For the longest time when I was working, customer experience is still this word that everyone kind of throws around, and companies talk about how they're customer focused, customer centric, customer led. And we're tired of all the surveys. We're tired of all the chatter when an organization perhaps doesn't deliver as they're promising that they stand behind their customers. Hey, how about a live event? If you talk about being transparent, you talk about being a customer-led organization, bring your customers to the table. Bring them to a conversation like this. and hear what they have to say. And you'd be surprised how you can build and collect great data, great analytics, do some wonderful research. And I'm working on some immersive um, live events that allow for people to interact, similar to the surveys that we're all, I guess, tired of filling. But here's a great opportunity to put your money where your mouth is, and show up in real time, show up in public, and demonstrate how vulnerable or how you bounce back with vulnerability. You talk about being customer centric. Someone puts you on the hot seat. They ask a question. How you respond might get you more customers than not saying anything, right? So
Yeah.
there's so many ways and so many benefits to lean in and leverage live events. They're not entertainment only. They're not just fillers. There is true value from raising awareness and consideration in your product launch, just community building. There's just so much you can do. And we just don't talk enough about it. From a marketing lens, everything is, social media marketing,
promotional,
right? And uh, there's just like, I can argue this all day, and love. And maybe arguing is not the best choice of words, because I love this so much.
I can defend it.
Defend it. We're going to go with defend.
I think this is a really important point, though, because this is something that we explore a lot on this show, is that very commonly a thing, specifically a tactic like live streaming, gets put into like one very tiny box. And it's like, well, I would feel weird if I live streamed and just talked about my product the whole time. And I'm like, well, first of all, I don't know that a lot of people who are like very into the benefits of live streaming would encourage you to just come and talk about your product on live stream for 20 minutes, right? Like, there's a lot of different things that you could do to like demonstrate value of a product or a service that isn't just like talking about your product and your service, but also like you make a really great point, Americo, about like, if this is what we're trying to do as a business, if we actually want to show the world that we are all about our customers over and above what everyone is saying, that we care about people, right? Like, how could we use something that is real time, that is super authentic, to demonstrate to the world that we are at a different level of this? What if we had our like, and I mean, obviously you want your customers to agree to this before just like putting them on a live stream, but like, if there's people who wanted to come and ask a question about a product or a product defect or something like that, and you could say like, yeah, whoever is on that live stream is totally capable of handling that and representing our brand in a strong way, like, that is acres above what anyone else is doing from a customer service point of view.
Hey, and if you want to plan it out so that it's not live and you got hot potatoes that are being passed around, take your reviews that you get from your customers on the review platforms and then host a live. Hey, we're answering your questions live. We're taking customer sentiment, customer feedback from our recent surveys or from our review platforms, and we're having a live conversation. Come join us. If you have questions that you want answered, we'll be happy to answer those as well.
Yeah.
Right. And you create that vibe.
And I think it is like also a good pressure test of like, how confident would you say you are in that function, right? Because again, even from a business perspective, if what you're trying to do is build confidence in that function, then like, and you're like, oh, well, no, I couldn't do that. I'm thinking about like, I'm on the board of my local fast pitch organization, and we had a parent meeting, and I was like, ooh, like, what would we have done if that had to be, never has to be, but like, if we were like, this is going to be live streamed, would we have said some things differently? I think we probably would have said some things differently. So it's interesting to use that as a pressure test as well. Just in terms of like, could we really stand behind this? And the name of this show is Crazy Stupid Marketing, right? Like, can I stand behind that, right? Like, would I get excited to stand behind that thing so that even if I'm doing something else 10 years from now, that people are like, oh, yeah, that was helpful. Yeah, okay, good. I'm hoping that it's helpful. And for those of you who are listening and or watching, if you ever experience something that is not helpful, I would love to hear it in the comments and or in personal feedback after, because I'm always have an incentive to grow this to be more helpful. Just for to be helpful. So yeah. Where else should we take it from here, Americo?
Well, let's talk about some of the cons.
Let's talk about cons.
We talked about pros. Let's spend some time on the cons. Are there cons? Possibly, depending on how deep you want to look. Everyone has an opinion of, well, how secure is my live from a technical standpoint? And we know that we are at the mercy of third-party platforms, like we're streaming or multi-streaming today through StreamYard. But the channels in which we're pushing this live stream to have limitations as well. So how often have we gone live? My very first live, I'll give you an example. My very first live, I hit live and I had a 45-minute conversation, and it didn't go live anywhere. But those are lessons you learn, right? And throughout 2025, the one thing that kind of really stuck out to me is that I continue to hear. It's like, yeah, I'm worried about the tech. I'm worried about, in addition to the tech, I'm worried about the pressure of live. So I'm kind of leaning into what I'm hearing from the community that I'm serving, and now I'm setting up a community that allows people a safe place to rehearse, to test, to just bounce ideas off of, and ask questions. There's so many other communities that help other professionals from a marketing perspective, from a teaching perspective, from a coaching perspective, but I don't see, or I haven't heard of, many resources and communities around, live streaming and how we can help those who might have anxiety around live streaming.
Yeah.
So we're going to address some of the cons by building a community, allowing people to come in, test the waters, see if it's right for them before they invest in the tech, before they invest in the audio, the lighting, and everything else that they might need. Come test the waters. Come hear what some pros or thought leaders who have already spent time in that space, hear their stories, hear their narratives, their journey, and maybe you'll pick something up along the way. And one day you might be in a position to give that same advice to someone who is aspiring to go live.
Yeah. So I don't think it would be a surprise for anyone to hear me say that I love live streaming. Also because I'm not a prep person. I find I get too caught up in prepping and the how, instead of being like, hey, we're going to come and we're going to have a meandering conversation and we're going to hit some really important points on the way and give people some stuff they can try on. Right. And I had an interview for someone else's podcast once where they're like, we just want you to give the 3 tips for authentic marketing. And I'm like, that's not a thing though. So I could give you 3 tips, but it's not going to get people results. So that's not, no, this is probably not right for me. But I think let's talk about this practice of it, right? Because I actually tell a lot of my clients to use live streaming as a practice, right? If they have a idea for a podcast or an idea for a webinar series, I'm like, well, why, drop a live stream, right? Just try one, just do one, right? And still do invites and follow-ups and the whole thing for one, but try it on, right? It's very cheap to try live streaming, and even easier with communities where you can help people to try it out. But I think one of the things too that people can very commonly get caught up in is that well, if I live stream once, then I gotta do it for like ever. And I gotta pick the thing right off the get-go that's gonna be the thing that I can like live stream on for forever. And I always tell people that like Crazy Stupid Marketing Show is the 4th iteration of me live streaming. If you go far enough back on my YouTube channel, you can find all the other ones too. They're still there. But like humans evolve. And therefore,
Absolutely.
like how you live stream and what you live stream about is probably going to evolve as well. Otherwise, you're in a fixed area there, fixed mindset. And so, like from your perspective, America, what are some things or maybe ways of framing that help people come out and do a test?
So I would begin with know your why, right? Know why you're doing it, and understand that it's not going to be perfect, but don't get hung up on waiting for it to be perfect to start. If you compare live streaming to broadcasting and television, what do we know happens? Even in the business world, project management, things get rolled out in sprints, seasons. So you talked about having different iterations of your show. Similar with myself. I went, all in and made this commitment to stream like 4 times a week, and then I realized, well, what happens when business picks up and I got to help a customer? Like I'm planning 4 different shows, 4 different themes. Like this is a lot of work. So now kind of peel that back, because I learned that, hey, it was great. It was great practice. We did a season. We went through a sprint. We talked about something, and be comfortable in letting go. When you've learned something, and you've practiced it, you're either going to come to the realization, it's like, all right, this worked, wasn't for me, but we're going to retool it, we're going to tweak it, and we're going to come back bigger, better, stronger in season 2. And you start another sprint. And if you compartmentalize it in 12-week sprints, it's a short commitment, and then you can kind of dissect it, look at your lessons learned, and come back again bigger, better, stronger. And if you got the courage to leave your first iterations up for all to see, great. If you don't, you have the option.
You can always delete it.
You can always delete it. Absolutely. But I think there's a place and a purpose for on-demand content. People get to see your journey. I'm a big fan of building your personal brand and your brand in general. Build in public. People gravitate to entrepreneurs and small businesses that build in public. You're going to see that raw, vulnerable person, and you're going to see them evolve and develop and flourish. And you want to be part of that.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things that I'm just thinking, because I got to the point where I was doing 3 live streams a week, and I was like, with my client load, this is too much. Like I can commit to 1 for sure, and then 2 on a like sometimes basis, and then not 3. And so like we all have to look at other time responsibilities and things like that. But one of the things that I love about different shows with different topics, so like I have this show, I very commonly participate on the Digital Download as well, which runs on Fridays. There's when people can see you in like a different frame, that's also a really great opportunity to create that alignment and the belief in the authenticity, right? Because I can see Tracy on her show, but I can also see Tracy on another show, and it's very consistent.
And
you're and touching on something, like podcasts or anything.
You're touching on something that is a fantastic topic for us not to avoid. Let's talk about pod guesting, right? That is a great place to start your strategy. It's a great place to also maybe augment and scale your strategy. As some people will go live as long as they're invited to go speak somewhere, because they don't want.
That's me, by the way. So if you are watching and you have a show and you'd like to talk about authenticity, then just hit me up.
It's great for building social authority, because it's not just you talking on your show about things that you like. You've now gained the social authority to now be a guest on someone else's show. And I enjoy sharing my stage and spotlighting business owners and professionals. And I now make it part of my marketing funnel. I'll demonstrate what it's like. So when people ask, do you have anything we can watch? Yeah, you can go on my YouTube channel. You can go in my events tab, and you'll see different iterations of the shows that I put together. Some are designed purposely for those who have anxiety around the camera. Hey, we'll do an audio event, right? So I'll create some scenes, and I'll create a show around audio. And if it's good enough, or if it needs some audio editing and some cleaning up from an audio perspective, you can even repurpose it into a podcast, upload it to Spotify or one of the many options that you can upload it to. The versatility that live provides is incredible. The evergreen content that is born from a live event. Sometimes it is a conversation, like you and I can be sitting here, and I'm thinking, it's like, all right, there's a good piece of content that is going to find its way into my schedule. Or a comment from someone in the audience triggers something. It's like, oh, this is a hot ticket item. People are talking a lot about this. Let's build it into our content strategy. I tell you, I've never run out of ideas for content the minute I started going live. Where in the past, I was struggling. Mind you, I was struggling because I was one of those who were chasing the trends and chasing the shiny topics to try to get that virality. Like, all right, stop chasing dopamine and start talking and bringing value.
Yeah.
Right. So
I usually frame that as like, there's chasing and then there's leading. This is the thing I know. This is the thing I can stand here and talk about for days on end. And people come on the show and I'm like, it's going to be like 45 minutes. And then sometimes it's like an hour and 20 minutes. like we could talk about this for all of time. But there's so many, I think there's a lot of things, and I'm a marketer, right? So I blame a lot of this on marketing and the media that is like, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do podcasting, you need to do live streaming, you need to do a book, you need to be on every platform, you need to, and then pretty soon we're just like chasing the thing, right? And we don't even realize that we're chasing, and we go into our work and we're leading in the work, and then we get so confused why our marketing is not feeling good. Well, because your marketing is chasing. You feel good in your work because you're leading. So what if your marketing was you leading instead of you chasing? And absolutely. I think live streaming is great for that.
Let's pick up on that, because I pulled the plug on TikTok, or my TikTok account. I pulled the plug on X. When it comes to live streaming, yeah, sure, we're going to listen to the Gary V's and who've got this big voice in the social ecosystem, and many like him who say you got to be everywhere. You got to be. If you're not on 7 or 8 different platforms, then you're not going to make a dent.
Yeah, say the people who are already famous and have a production team that puts their content on every other platform.
Knowing where your audience is important. Don't do it just because someone says you got to do it, because then you find yourself exactly where you just described. You find yourself chasing.
That's the stupid marketing, by the way, folks, is the things that you're doing just because someone else told you to, but not because you have a good reason.
Yeah. Knowing when to give up. I hung on to Facebook a little too long. So right now I'm in 4 different channels: LinkedIn, Substack, YouTube, and I got an IG presence. Everything else, shut down my TikTok business account. I shut down my Facebook business account, and I shut down my X. I wasn't getting the traction. So why am I spinning my wheels if no one's listening, no one's engaging?
Well, and I think there's an important aspect of that too, that is a alignment piece, right? Like, I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my favorite place to hang out in terms of social media platforms, right? So I'm going to live stream there because I feel like I'm talking to my friends on LinkedIn.
Right.
Then I'm going to use YouTube because YouTube is the best search place for video content, right? So like these two things make sense, right? I do Facebook because, hey, platform lets me, so why not?
Yeah.
And my uncle like likes it every time, and so like, thanks, Uncle Daryl. Even if it's only for Uncle Daryl on Facebook, I got a big like Facebook thumbs up. I'm not sure.
No, but that's good.
Else, but
that's good.
Like,
you know
reason.
You exactly know your reason, know your purpose, and know where your community is hanging out. Try it. If they show up, you stick around. If they don't, do not make hope part of your strategy, because you will be disappointed hoping that things are going to change. You know, we'll just give it some more time. Let's keep showing up. It's like, yeah, at some point you're going to have to pull the plug. Maybe revisit it. But if it's not working, don't overwhelm yourself.
And I think it's interesting too, as you mentioned earlier in the conversation, about looking at why it's not working, right? Like,
yeah,
if there's kind of this whole package that goes with live streaming, but you're not doing the whole package, right? Then it might be that there's a piece of that that's working, but like there's other things that need to be incorporated. It might be that I've had clients experience this with pre-recorded video, which is why I personally don't do pre-recorded video, but like you record it and then you watch it and then you judge yourself. So then you redo it. And then pretty soon you've done like 15 takes of a video that you still don't like and you didn't post, and that took half an hour. And instead I come on and like talk about a thing that I know about, that I'm passionate about, for 47 minutes, and it doesn't feel hard. It feels like it brings my energy up instead of bringing my energy down.
Absolutely.
And when you like try it, then you can be like, oh yeah. Or there's like, when I do it solo, I really feel blah. But when I do it as conversation, I feel like that's really fun. Okay, great. Do it as a conversation. Like, again, as you mentioned earlier in the conversation, there's so many different ways to incorporate live streaming into a meaningful business strategy. And when you start to look at the opportunities that it provides and compare that to like, what am I trying to do here, whether as a company or as an individual building a personal brand to get a job, like there's ways where it can really logically plug in. And there's ways where you're just like, oh, well, yeah, I could use it for that, but like, I would never use it for that.
All right. Speaking of using versus not using, let's touch on a hot ticket item.
Okay.
AI. Where does AI fit in your ecosystem? Where do you use it versus where won't you use it?
Well, and so like, this is my perspective, obviously, not everybody's perspective. I'd love to hear yours too, Americo. But for me, one of the things that I have found about conversation is that it gives me a different perspective. Different perspectives give me ideas. So I use my friend ChatGPT as an opportunity to get a different perspective, which then gives me ideas. When it comes to my live streams, I use it for pretty much nothing. That doesn't mean, folks, that you can't use it for anything. It's just my personal experience of that. I have found that still to date, and again, Americo and I were talking about this before we came on live, that the like AI clips that are being generated by the platforms are still not very good. They have like weird start and stop points, and you're like, this is not a like chunk of the conversation. This is like a weird thing. And so I'm sure it will continue to improve. But like, I have conversations with people. When I meet them, I'm like, oh my gosh, you would be a great guest. I would love to talk to you about this on my show. So I don't need it to generate ideas for the topics for the show. People do that for me. I still write all of the description of the show myself. And I will tell you also, like, I I write that and I post that. Like, so I don't like go back and forth. Like, is this the right description for the show? I write how I feel. And I'm sure there's people out there who would advise against that. But this is how live streaming becomes easy for me. And again, I'm a big believer in that. If it doesn't feel easy, then people are not going to do it. And
That's
so
right.
I think there are ways to use AI to make parts of the live streaming process easy for you that are maybe not easy for you. But I'd love to hear your perspective on this too.
Well, here's my perspective. I had a wonderful live stream 2 weeks ago around AI generated podcasts or virtual events. So I will not use it. I tested it out. I tried the Google Notebook, the Notebook LM model, and had that AI curate a podcast type of piece of content. I was mortified because that wasn't me having the conversation.
Right.
But where I will use it is in intros, graphics, intros, outros, sound effects. I will also, because the conversation is really what you're kind of zeroing in on.
Mm-hmm.
So I will lean in and repurpose or use the transcript to repurpose my content, right? Truth be told, ask me if I like writing. Not my most favorite thing to do. If I have to sit down and come up with something, yes, great. I will sit down and come up with something. I will feed it through AI and say, all right, does this read cohesively and it will give suggestions. But the transcript is gold because it's a
I
real
have used AI with a transcript to
right.
create like a blog post.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're taking a real life conversation and taking that and turning it into value.
Mm-hmm.
You're not copying and pasting because it was your conversation. So
Right.
I don't feel bad doing that and using the transcript.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, it has no other place.
Yeah.
Do not.
And I like, so a couple weeks ago we had Mark Storr on the show, and one of the things he asked me for as a follow-up was the transcript for the show. And so I'm like, yeah, I get the transcript. So here you go. And he has been making like a series of posts about the things that came up in the conversation. And I'm like, this is the most productive like content repurposing I have seen from this show. And I didn't even do it. But like those types of things when you're like, well, I came on the show and I talked about my ideas. So now I can share my ideas again in my own content. I've just been like high five, Mark, if you're watching this show. But it's been like really cool to see what can be done and maintain the authenticity, right? And I don't know if Mark is using, I would guess he's not using any other additional like AI layered on top of that, but like the AI transcribes it for us, right? And that's nice.
That is nice. And, truth be told, just going on the record here, I'd love to get a copy of the transcript because I will repurpose this conversation. Stay tuned. I will probably also remix YouTube clips.
Love a good remix.
Oh
my gosh, this is such a good idea. Okay, so also I just want to talk about the value of conversation for a minute. So we're like, whether or not that conversation is happening on a live stream or it's happening in coffee chats or it's happening in boardrooms, like there is this power in conversation for you to get an idea where you're like, this is such a genius idea and it's so simple and it's like totally something I would do, right? So like I'm all about the music and the headphones, and this concept of a remix is just such a smart thing. If I was ever going to share any kind of like video clips, like remix is totally how Tracy would do it. And I think sometimes we feel like when we come to a show and we're listening to a bunch of experts talk about things, that it's common for us to feel like I gotta do all the things that the experts say. But one of the really great practices is be able to just like listen with like open ears, open heart, open mind, right? Until somebody, I'm sure Americo totally, he said that just in passing, right? Like, I'm probably just going to remix this into blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my God, remix a thing. That's such a great idea. And so like when you're watching these shows or you're participating in conversations, like watch for those moments where you're like, yeah, that's a thing I would do. Because when we're, whether we're talking about live stream or we're talking about marketing or we're talking about business foundations or we're talking about how you want to parent your kids, right? When you make those like personal alignment observations about yourself and you're like, ooh, that's a thing I would do. Like, take that to the bank.
Take it.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like, run with it. There's like one of my favorite things about Broadway is like the Broadway remix tapes, right? And if you're a fan of Broadway and you've never listened to one of the remixes on Spotify, please go do that right after you're finished watching this. But it's like, it's so cool. And there's equal amount of people, probably more people who will think it's not cool. But the point is that like when you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. That sounds like a great idea. Try it, right? Try it. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But like if you get that excited about a thing like I just did, like try it. At least try it once. Try it on.
Yeah, absolutely. YouTube, listen, a lot of people say that YouTube is hard, gone are the days where you get good traction. It is still, regardless of your subscriber count, people still use it as a search engine. Mm-hmm. And if you optimize and you put in a good description with good keywords and you create some wonderful shorts and remixes, most people consume YouTube now in short spurts. So create a 15 to 60-second short clip or remix, and people will come back to your show. That doesn't happen with any of my written content, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't happen with most people's written content. You write it and you forget it, and if you don't get any engagement within the hour, it kind of just rides into the sunset. Where with live streams, yes, we're live now, but once we go off the air, we can repurpose this. We can bring this back and resurrect it a year from now and use it as a highlight, Yeah. And invite people to go back and listen to this conversation a year from now. So the replays live on forever. Mm-hmm. And if I have a theme song that I've put together, yes, we used AI. Keith Keller in Melbourne, Australia, gifted me a Suno curated song. We punched in the lyrics, didn't like it, or we actually entered a prompt. It gave us lyrics. We didn't like it. We tweaked it, personalized it a little bit. And I do have an intro that was created by AI.
Good point though, too. Even like we prompted AI and it gave us some stuff and we were not really happy with that stuff. So we tweaked it and made it more. I've always said for many years from a marketing point of view, right? It's easier to start from something than it is to start from nothing. And this is a great job for AI. It might not create something good, but it can create from nothing, and it has no problem with that, right? So use your judgment, use your authenticity pressure tests on those things, because if you are creating from scratch and what it's creating from scratch are not going to be the same thing. But now you don't have to create from scratch. You can just be the optimizer. You just optimize that to match your authenticity instead of spending all the time creating from scratch. And again, the point here is like, use it in the ways that match you, that feel like that's what you would do. And even if someone is like, this is the most genius prompt for AI, everyone can just use this prompt to create your direct marketing strategies, like, use your judgment. I'm not saying it's not a good place to begin, right? But I would never recommend it being the place that you end.
Fair enough.
Okay. Well, we did it again. We got to an hour and it felt like it flew by. Americo, although I think you probably know most of the people in the chat, but for the people who are watching who don't know you yet, where is the best place for them to connect with you?
Well, the best place is probably LinkedIn. Americo Da Costa. There's not that many of us. Pretty easy to find. I'm also trying to build a Substack community and trying to meet those who consume live, who enjoy live, but don't have the hour to listen. I'll blog. I'll do a post live blog for those who want to read and consume lessons learned and takeaways from each of the live streams. Those can be found on Substack. Otherwise, you can visit my website, journeylogic.ca, and see what I'm up to. And if you want to have a conversation, hey, I'm not a pitch slapper. I welcome conversations. I'll give you advice as best as I can. I will earn the trust, and you'll know what kind of person I am just by the virtue of not getting pitch slapped.
I mean, I feel like we've set a pretty low bar at this point if we're like, yeah, we'll trust anybody who doesn't pitch slap us because everyone is doing that. Come on, world. Like, do better. Right? But also, yes, I can guarantee that Americo's not going to pitch slap you, nor will I pitch slap you if you are not already connected to me. But if you were here, I'm probably going to reach out to you to connect because we're all here sharing a passion for live streaming. So
that is a given.
Yes.
That
Stay
is
in
a
the
given.
Conversation, folks. Like one of the things I always say at the end of these shows is that even in more of these like technical, tactical episodes, I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I came, I listened for an hour, I know everything about live streaming. No, we did not touch on every single deep dive detail about live streaming today. So if live streaming is something that you're exploring, like don't let this be the last conversation that you participate in. Let it be the first of many. Reach out to Americo, reach out to me, have conversations with each other. Where we had a whole group in the chat today with Robert and Meryl and Leanna and Dwayne and Annie and Brenda and Christy. And I don't think I missed anybody, but at least all of those people are here in the chat today. So thank you guys for coming and getting into the chat and adding another layer of robustness into the conversation. This is something that is uniquely available with live streaming. So thank you for participating in that feature. But stay in the conversation. Don't let this be the last time you talk about live streaming. We would highly encourage you to try it, test it, figure it out. How does it match you? And it's going to take a minute to figure out. So stay in the convo. Any last words, Americo?
Yeah, focus on being seen, being heard, and being remembered. And there's no better way of doing it than stepping up to a hot mic and a camera and just bring yourself. And don't worry about it. You will get better.
With practice makes permanent, folks.
Absolutely.
Like Americo and I have been live streaming for a long time. We're very comfortable with it at this point. Was I as comfortable with it on my very first episode? Nope. Have I done episodes where my camera totally didn't show up and my guests looked like they were talking to a black screen? Yep. So there's a lot of things that both of us have experienced in the land of live streaming. So come, get into the conversation, right? Let's start exploring and let's go do it together instead of feeling like we have to do it by ourselves.
Awesome. Listen,
All right.
I want to thank you before we go off the air. Thanks for bringing me on. It was a wonderful conversation. And consider this an open invite. We're going to get you in the new year, and we'll continue this conversation. We'll have a second iteration of live streaming, but I will host you as my guest and give each other an opportunity to share the stage once again.
Well, I excitingly accept. I feel like I use weird words on this show, but that's part of my personal brand. So that's what live streaming is all about. Yes, I accept. So look forward to that, folks. We will have a follow-up continuation of the conversation with Americo. So you got to follow us if we were interesting enough, or hopefully we're interesting enough. And if not, this is the other nice thing about live streaming. You peace out and we never notice.
Hey, well, here's something. If you think we were interesting enough, fantastic. If you think that we perhaps weren't your cup of tea, but know someone who may enjoy us, give us a share. Let them know who we are and let them listen to us on the replay and make that decision for themselves.
Yeah. Invite your peeps into the conversation, everybody. It's always good. I mean, and I think this is just a good practice too, not because I'm trying to like push the show, but when you see something that is helpful for you and you're out having conversations in the world and you think it could be helpful for someone else, share it, right? Let's help each other. We all got enough division going on in the world. Let's go out and help each other when we can. And one of the easiest things we can do is share an awesome bit of content that we love. So great reminder, Americo. I'm going to cut us off now because we're just going to keep talking and we're not. So stay tuned for a follow-up episode. Show. Yeah, that's a thing. We can make that a thing with Americo. And until then, everybody, permission to do you.